The Bears are sitting at number 1, 10th in the NFL draft, and the possibilities are wide open. Based on what the team has done in free agency and the trade market, they have options. They've got film to study, decisions to make, and plenty of time before the draft. But let's break down the scenarios right now. There are 3 players I consider absolute locks to be gone before Chicago is on the clock: Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Cam Ward. I don't know exactly where they'll go, but they won't be there at number 10. That takes 3 off the board, and after that, things start to get unpredictable. Shador Sanders? Probably gone. Mason Graham? He could go early, but with some concerns about his measurables, maybe he slides. The point is, this draft is wide open after those top 3 names. If you're a Bears fan, you should be rooting for as many quarterbacks to go early as possible. Chicago isn't taking one, so every quarterback taken before number 1. 10 pushes another talented player down the board. Now, let's talk about what they should do. Should the Bears just take the best player available? Just go straight off the big board? They're in a position to do that, no doubt. But here's how I see their best options at number 10. First up, if Mason Graham is still there, the Bears should sprint to the podium. Forget the short arms, forget the weight concerns. This guy played at 315 pounds last season. He's a dominant defensive tackle and one of the top 3 or 4 players in this draft. If he's on the board, he's the pick. Period. After that, it gets interesting. I have a 2A and 2B situation here. 2A, Armin Mimu. If the Bears believe he can be a long-term answer at left tackle, he's the pick. He's got experience at right tackle and right guard, and his tape is strong. If they see him as a potential left tackle, he's the guy. If not, he slides down the list because there isn't an immediate spot for him. 2B, Ashton Jeanty. If the Bears aren't sure about Mimu as a left tackle, Jeanty moves up. He's a dynamic running back prospect. Powerful, balanced, and explosive. He's not Saquon Barkley, but he's closer to Bijan Robinson in terms of overall talent. His contact balance is elite, and he's built like a tank. Some compare him to a juiced-up Ray Rice or Maurice Jones-Drew, and those are pretty good names to be linked with. If his floor is what those guys brought to the league, that's a great pick. At number 4, we've got Will Campbell. Another offensive lineman, but this one comes with questions. Can he play left tackle? Can he play tackle at all? His arm length is a concern, and while there are exceptions, it's something teams will have to consider. Bottom line, the Bears have options. The draft board could fall in a lot of different ways, but if Mason Graham is there, he should be the pick. If not, Mimu and Jeanty are strong choices depending on what the Bears believe about their future at left tackle. The team is in a great position to add a major piece, and the right call at number 10 could be a game changer. Will Campbell is an interesting prospect, but there are questions. His arm length is on the shorter side, and that's not always a deal breaker. But when you combine it with his wingspan, it raises concerns. Look at Willie Lampkin from North Carolina. He's only 5'10", 275 pounds, yet he has a longer wingspan than Campbell. That's telling. The big question is, can Campbell hold up at tackle in the NFL? He's a freak athlete with great footwork, so maybe he gets by. But from a scouting perspective, that's a tough sell. I still think Campbell can be a really good guard, maybe even an excellent center. He might even work at right tackle. But is that what the Bears need? That's the issue. I wouldn't hate the pick at number 10, but long-term, he might end up playing guard. And there are just other players I like better. That's why I have him ranked lower. It's not that he's a worse prospect than Armin Mimu, but Mimu has the measurables to potentially play left tackle, which the Bears need. If the team doesn't see Mimu as a left tackle, then maybe Campbell moves up. But as of now, I have him slightly lower. So, if the Bears go offensive line at number 10, who would you rather have, Mimu or Campbell? Mimu has the physical traits to play tackle, but Campbell might have the better tape. It's a tough call, but if Chicago needs a left tackle, Mimu makes more sense. Now, let's talk about another name rising up my board, Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. I didn't have Warren as a serious option a month or two ago, but I do now. The gap between him and Ashton Jeanty, from a pure skill position perspective, isn't that big. If the Bears pass on Campbell because of his arm length, Warren would be a strong alternative. I still like Jeanty more, which is why I have him ranked ahead, but Warren is climbing. Detroit ran a ton of 12 personnel last year, 2 tight end sets. And when you look at Warren, he's got the versatility to fit into that kind of system. He had a monster year at Penn State, and they even used him in Wildcat packages. Now think about what an offensive mind like Ben Johnson could do with him. That's what excites me. Warren can block. He can run routes. You can line him up in the backfield. He's more dynamic than Cole Kmet, and long-term, he could even become the Bears' top tight end. If Chicago went this route, Kmet could be phased out in a few years. It's not my top option, but if you told me today that the Bears were drafting Tyler Warren, I wouldn't hate it. He's gone from an afterthought to a real possibility. The Bears have plenty of options at number 10. Whether it's offensive line, running back, or tight end, there are multiple ways they can go. It all comes down to how they see these prospects fitting into their long-term plan. If all 5 of the top guys on the board, Mason Graham, Armin Mimu, Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, and Tyler Warren, are gone, I'm trading down. And let's be real, that could happen. I've already mentioned Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter. That's 3 of the 9 picks before the Bears go on the clock. Add in those 5 top targets, and suddenly, there's only 1 pick left before Chicago is staring at a board they don't love. At that point, I don't love the next batch of players at number 10. Sure, we'll get into a couple of options if they're stuck there, but ideally, you trade down. Now, it takes 2 to make a deal. You can't just force a trade. But if the Bears can find even decent value in a trade, I'm doing it. Extra draft capital is never a bad thing, and in this case, it might be the best move. I don't love this option, but edge rusher is a premium position, and there are some interesting names out there. After Abdul Carter, though, I don't love this class. Mike Green is a guy I actually like a lot, but I don't know if he fits the Bears. He's in the 8th percentile for arm length. That goes against everything Dennis Allen has looked for in his edge rushers. They just signed D'Eriq Davis, who is the complete opposite of Green. Maybe they view it as adding a different skill set. But historically, that's not how Allen builds his defenses. Then you've got Shamar Stewart, great athlete, but the production isn't there. Michael Williams, some production, solid athlete, but didn't test as well as expected. I like both of those guys better in a trade-down scenario. If you move back and land one of them, fine. But at number Sib, I don't love it. That said, sometimes you get stuck and have to make a pick. If the board falls the wrong way, this could be the fallback option. If they do trade down, some names to watch. Mike Green, James Pierce Jr., really talented, but what's the off-field situation? Stewart, Williams, and Don Oreku, who's rising but might fit better in a 3-4 than a 4-3. I'll be honest, I like McMillan more than any of the edge rushers outside of Abdul Carter. From a pure talent standpoint, he's probably one of the 10 best players in this draft. But here's the thing. Do the Bears need him? They took a receiver in the 1st round last year. They just paid DJ Moore a ton of money. They have Keenan Allen for now. If they draft McMillan, it probably means DJ Moore is gone in a year. Now, McMillan is a freak athlete. 6 feet 4 inches, 6 feet 5 inches, fluid route runner, incredible ball skills. He's going to be a great player. But the Bears don't need another high-end receiver. They need a complementary guy, not another wide receiver one. That's why I don't love this move. That said, if the Bears truly stick to best player available and they take McMillan, I'd understand it. The reason this is lower on the list is simple. I don't think Carter falls far enough to make this realistic. He's a lock to go in the top 9. But let's say he somehow slips past number 5-, then we're talking. If the Raiders are on the clock at number 6 and Carter is still there, I'm making a phone call. Can you get him without giving up a future first? Maybe number 10 plus picks number 39 or number 41 and a late rounder? If that gets it done, I'm in. But I'm not trading up to number 3. I'm not trading up to number 4. If Carter starts sliding past 5, then we can have a conversation. But realistically, it's a long shot. If worse comes to worse, the Bears could take Amari Hampton at number 10. Do I love it? No. But I'd be okay with it. He's a safe pick. He's a 3-down back, he'd complement DeAndre Swift, and you'd feel confident that he's going to be a good NFL player. Now, is this a reach? Yeah, probably. Hampton is more like the 18th, 20th best player in this draft, so taking him at number 10 isn't great value. But sometimes you're on the clock, you don't love the options, you can't find a trade, and you have to pick someone. The Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12 last year. They got ripped for it, and now it looks like a great move. I'm not saying Hampton will have the same impact. But with the Bears' current coaching staff, I wouldn't rule it out. Would I rather take an edge rusher? Maybe, just because it's a premium position. But if the Bears see Hampton as a high-floor, plug-and-play starter, I wouldn't hate it. So that's my 10th scenario. Do I think it comes to that? Probably not. But if we're talking about worst-case options, trading down for Hampton would be pretty high on my list. And look, I could sit here and list out 65 different scenarios, but at some point, we'd be here all day. Bottom line, there are a lot of ways this could play out for the Bears at number 10. Some I like, some I don't, but these are the 10 that feel the most realistic. Now, let's hear from you. If you're the Bears, what's your move? Who are you drafting at number 10? Do you trade down, take an offensive lineman? Go with a playmaker? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see where the fan base stands on this one. We're just getting started with draft season. As we get closer to April, we'll be breaking down all the scenarios, the latest rumors, and everything you need to know about what the Bears might do. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and make sure you're locked in. This is your home for Bears draft content, and we'll keep you covered every step of the way.